Strangely, I found you where I could have been anyone passing by, but now I have you and I could have been.
Hey everybody, it's Joe Roberts with OneWineDude.com, and I'm here in Berkley, California, and I just come from Premiere Napa Valley, and I'm now having kind of almost the polar opposite from a wine perspective. I'm at the shop of the legendary Kermit Lynch, who's been so kind as to agree to let me play bass on his next CD.
You've got some competition.
I do actually. I've heard a couple of the discs. I have some serious competition. Well, I've been playing for like 25 years.
Really?
I should be a lot better.
You play electric and stand-up?
Yeah. I play electric upright because I'm kind of small. The big upright makes me look like I'm about three inches high. So I'm here. Kermit's agreed to spend 5 minutes with us, which is great. And I wanted to ask you just a couple quick questions. And we've got a lot of geeky wine folks out there, One Wine Dude, who will probably be very thrilled to hear what you have to say. So, this shop is as old as I am. I think this year is the 40th year.
That's
wow!
right.
So I'm turning 40 this year.
In October.
Shop. I'm actually slightly older than your shop. So that's an amazing perspective to have on the world of wine, particularly French and Italian wine. So, what's changed the most in that time frame for you? Does anything stand out particularly? Is the pace of change faster now? Were there maybe more formative events earlier? Just curious.
Of course, the pace of change. I mean, it's amazing now. And another something that drives change that we didn't have back then was the media. Wine taste was not decided by journalists.
Ah, yes.
Nor were prices. So I think that's a big change. What was...
You're talking about the advent of folks like Robert Parker and Wine Spectator.
Right, and then
we're not talking about the internet at this point. We are talking first newsletters, the magazines. Yeah.
Right. France now has its own critics. In those days, the French Wine Review was just very straightforward and not judgmental. They wouldn't even tell you, was this wine worth buying, or is this better than another wine? It was just, here's what it's made of, the soil's like this. Very, very factual and straightforward. And now that the media is into it, wine is so much more, the style of wine is decided today by the large part of the market based on fads that are generated by the media. And we didn't have that back when I started. If you planted Chardonnay, you wait hopefully 100 years till you had old vines. Now it's like, oh my God, Viognier's in this year. You know, let's change everything over to Viognier.
Right.
And
I think it's Grenache Blanc is what we're saying.
That was unheard of. People would have said, are you crazy? But, you know, it's the world, the media world, and they elect politicians and they tell us what we're going to drink.
Do you see that changing yet?
Well, one thing I've seen changing is you could say, I mean, people have said it for years, that that the most powerful man in the wine business was Robert Parker, and he may still be. But the thing that strikes me, there are so many places now to get information about wine. The net, I don't do much of that. I guess I'm not of the generation.
You should, because your newsletter is amazing. You'd probably kill it online.
But today, I see there's such a diversity of media for the people to find information, and how many people now are writing what they think about wine. There's a lot to choose from, and to me, thank God, it dilutes the influence of just one or two publications. And I think we're really seeing that today. I think you see it when you go to restaurants here. In France, it's the same thing. It's the same thing in England. Instead of fighting over those few bottles of Gigal Côte Rôtie, you're seeing things like here. I just opened a Patrimonio Blanc from Corsica, wow,
Vermintino.
for years you couldn't have placed this on a wine list anywhere. No one would look at it. They think I was crazy. In fact, I lived without all my life. I can remember when I brought in Chinon Red for the first time. People acted like, "You can't sell that. What are you doing?"
Interesting.
You know.
Which now
And
is
today,
it's very well known.
and sommeliers are excited now to get new wines to turn their customers onto things that they might not know about. That's a huge change, you know, and I love it, of course, because it fits what I do.
It's coming back around.
I can't help it.
And then this is a corollary to that question then, which is after 40 years, you talk about some things exciting like the internet is changing things or democratizing the voice a little bit. Is there anything else it's so exciting about the wine world after 40 years? Is get you out of bed, get you coming here. Has that kind of changed? Are there sort of new things on the horizon that you see that really excite you?
There are so many things. When I think back, when I started going to France, it was almost all negociant wines, and estate bottle wines have really taken over, and that's meant a huge change in terms of diversity because all those negociants have their house style. That's the imprint on it.
That's kind of the point with some of the houses, yeah.
It's hard to tell whether you got a Chambertin or a Volnay in your glass, or sometimes even a Beaujolais. In fact, there might be some. No, I won't say it. Anyway,
is there a gem there somewhere?
I don't want to get sued.
Okay, I'm okay with Volnay in my glass. I just want, for the record, I want to say.
But so that change gave us a lot more diversity in styles, coming from all the different winemakers. Another big change, when I started, the enologist had just hit the scene. They were invented around 1970, I believe, and so I'm talking about European wines, because at the beginning I sold some California wines, but I quickly learned where my own, where my nose was leading me, and I fell in love with French and Italian wines, and that's all I do these days. But the European wines, most of the whites you tasted smelled like sulfur. The wines were being filtered to death, and today there's this big backlash that God, and they've learned through trial and error the minimum of sulfur that they can get by. And these days it's very rare that I encounter white wines that have a smell of SO2. That's really something. That's a huge change. And the filtration, a lot of people have stopped filtering, thank goodness, stopped taking a lot of the goodies out of their wine. So that's an important change. What do I see for the future? I think that's what's going to stick. This diversity, and people are beginning to appreciate that. Where before, I'll tell you, I would notice people, if it had a new flavor, they were suspicious. Oh, I never tasted anything like that.
And now we've got, especially I think with the younger generation, millennial consumers particularly, a lot of them come to One Wine Dude. And thanks for coming if you're watching this. And they'll try anything. I mean, these people tell me you ask them what they want, they will, no, we want to hear about it all. They'll try anything, of course, the Vermentino, no problem. Like they'll happily approach that. And they will probably, maybe, those folks may never know what that overwhelming whiff of SO2 smells like.
And I think young people now take it for granted, not knowing what it used to be like.
We're all the beneficiaries. So what goes around comes around. Kermit Lynch, thank you very, very much, everybody. We're here again with Kermit Lynch, a legend in the wine world. This is just a geeky pleasure for me, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers, everybody.